Over the past couple of weeks, we've labored on this subject, along with the team at 22 Hours, and we think this is probably the most important conversation to be had in South African football. At the moment, Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates are getting ready for the Soweto Derby, but there are two very important people who have decisions to make around these clubs, and it has huge implications for the now and the future of South African football. Enjoy. Born from the ashes of apartheid, Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates emerged as symbols of unity, transcending societal divides through the beautiful game. But these clubs are approaching perhaps the most pivotal periods in their history. Both patriarchs of the club are in their twilight years, and the question of succession looms large. Who will take over when Chincha Guluva and the Iron Duke depart the stage of South African football?
In every particular business, there's a lot of apprenticeship learning. The whole role of an apprentice is to continuously doing what the boss is not doing. So if I start taking over the roles and responsibilities that those are senior to me are doing, that is a form in itself of succession planning.
Failure to plan for succession. What happens when that's the case?
It's a very, very expensive decision to not take care of. If you have outside stakeholders that the business operates with, if those stakeholders are not on side and do not understand which direction this business is going in, they themselves need to de-risk themselves from this particular company, because I may make a decision today and the person who takes over might not necessarily have the same relationship with me, and so therefore might not be able to deal with me in the way that I've gotten comfortable with. And then the other element is if you have other investors sitting on the outside of the situation, looking at the company and saying, look, if we were to invest in this company, it's a great asset, but we don't know who's going to be running this business. We don't know if when we take away the founder who was a secret source or etc. in driving the company into where it is today, how the business will perform going forward. So it's this overlaying of uncertainty throughout the whole process and thinking of every day of the business that is absolutely critical and a very, very expensive decision to make. It creates a lot of turmoil, and obviously then it creates risk it brings risk into the business.
Anytime you have money flowing in and out of any industry, it requires regulation, it requires law, it requires a good standing. South African sport is no different, more specifically football.
Dr. Khoza and Dr. Kaizer Motaung stand as titans in African football. In 1996, they co-founded the Premier Soccer League, professionalizing South African football. And today, this league boasts over R1 billion in annual revenue, transforming it into the biggest league on the African continent. Their influence extends beyond the pitch, with both serving on the PSL's Board of Governors and SAFA's Executive Committee. Both also played pivotal roles in securing the 2010 World Cup bid for South Africa, cementing their legacies as true architects of South African football.
There is no league in Africa where clubs get over 30 million head start in grants because it's a viable league. So, you know, we're very blessed to have what we have in the PSL, and we're quick to knock and we're quick to point fingers and we're quick to look for change. But from where I sit inside the game, to have leaders like Dr. Khoza and Dr. Motaung, for me, has been a massive blessing, and that's the reason why we've had events like the World Cup 2010, of which Dr. Khoza was the chairman of. We can't make light of things like that, and we hosted a perfect 2010. It was the best business card that South Africa could ever have wished for in the biggest sporting code in the world.
Football in its current form in South Africa is still extremely new. So new, such as that the biggest teams in football are still owned and run by their founders, still operated by those that brought the club to where we see them today in 2024. Whilst that is something of an incredible spectacle to behold, it becomes extremely important to ensure that you are able to differentiate, giving an opportunity to the right people, proper governance, and ensuring that the family that are succeeding you understand what the governance looks like.
What do you assess as the state of our future leaders in terms of African football?
Leadership is not something that you can go and pluck off every tree. It's not easy in football. The dynamics in football, the complexities of football, the very remote odds that are against you in football.
Dr. Kaizer Motaung and Dr. Khoza's impact on South African football can also be seen in their ownership of Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates. According to a 2020 Nielsen Sports SA research survey of domestic football fans, 40% of South African football fans support Kaizer Chiefs and 27% support Orlando Pirates. Pirates and Chiefs both have the same number of league wins in the last 27 years with 4 each. But in terms of the modern era, there is no better team than Mamelodi Sundowns, who have claimed 13 titles, including the last 6 in a row.
Kaizer Chiefs was born, and we mentioned it before, as we all know, from a different football club, Orlando Pirates. Now, those two names are synonymous with South African sport, let alone South African football. We look at other clubs like Mamelodi Sundowns, for example. The succession aspect there is a little bit more modern, more recent, but what has happened for the club within the last 7 to 8 years is a complete branding ecosystem that allows the club, from our vision, to live in an ecosystem that is separate from its founders, family and owners. Now, if one is able to emancipate themselves from that, I think that's where true success lies. One must be able to say that Kaizer Chiefs is Kaizer Chiefs, even though the name is synonymous with the name of the founder. Orlando Pirates is Orlando Pirates because it's Orlando Pirates. Once that aspect is able to be differentiated without any governance issues or without any matters that might get in the way of the club's performance on and off the field, I think that you're working towards good succession planning.
Another founding father of the Premier Soccer League was Jomo Sono. The Black Prince wowed crowds with his outrageous skill while playing for Pirates and in North America. He returned back home in 1982 to form his own team, Jomo Cosmos. Cosmos has always been known more as a club that produces players and has unearthed several stars such as Aaron Mokoena, Pitso Mosimane and Helman Kalele. Cosmos is sadly no longer a professional team, campaigning in the ABC Motsepe League, and this is perhaps South African football's best example of succession done wrong.
When they won the championship in '86, Roy Matthews was the coach, And then Jomo decided, well, he's taking over. So they really only had 2 coaches in their entire existence, I think maybe it's also got to do a lot with finances, I think when you're a club owner with a massive footballing history like Jomo, it must be really difficult to hire somebody else when you can do it yourself, when you believe, you're as good as the next, if not better, and more about player identification and talent than most. But I think there was a point somewhere down the line where he should have said to himself, okay, listen, I'm not bringing any freshness to this club, let me bring someone else in.
I think the succession planning has already started from a PSL point of view. Right now you've seen a young Klopi Motsepe coming to Sundowns. You're seeing Mpumi and Nkosana Khoza coming to Pirates. You're seeing Jessica and Bobby and Kaizer Jr. In the Kaizer space. Chief Tidiela's kid getting involved in Black Leopards. We're seeing John Comite's kid getting involved in Cape Town Spurs. You're seeing Nonkeba Madlala taking over at Golden Arrows. You're seeing a young, fresh future of South African local football environment is already starting to take shape. And I think that that's an exciting time for the future.
As yet another Soweto Derby draws nearer, the succession question remains. With Dr. Motaung, age 79, and Dr. Khoza, age 76, have Chiefs and Pirates waited too long to let their succession plans be known? How will the eventual successors continue the ethos of both clubs while forging new visions of their own? And will stakeholders and fans alike buy into this new era and these football institutions?
Does it seem to be a plan?
I don't think so. And the thing is, it's worrying because you talk about succession plan in terms of the owners or in terms of the direction, the vision the club wants to take. I don't know if Molefe Ntseki was part of the plan. I don't know if sacking Arthur Zwane was part of the plan either. I don't know whether if some of the signings are signed because, that player played well against Chiefs last season, then we must sign him, or actually there was a vision and a plan. I think that's maybe what I'm slightly jealous of Mamelodi Sundowns in, is the sense that everyone that they signed, it seems like it was planned, whereas Chiefs, it doesn't. So when you talk about the future of Kaizer Chiefs and where it's going to go, and is there a plan, I doubt there is going to be a plan. I think there's nothing wrong with saying, maybe this is not my skills and forte, and get people who can actually do the job as well.
I think the chairman in his own right, he knows that who he's going to put. But according to us, we think Bumi will take over. But again, when he was asked, the chairman, he said, no, he doesn't know. I think he was just trying to be smart with us. He knows the boy will take over. He's there checking how is he doing, because the chairman obviously knows the street. You won't expect the young boy to know the street as the old man would. But, every generation has its own challenges, but I think he will do better.
But I think we have to be very, very careful. The chairman always says that the death of an elder is like the burning of a library. You lose a certain institutional memory and historical, things that have happened that are so important to have a perspective, whether you're going left or right. It's very important to know what worked before, what didn't work before, what were the obstacles, where did the issues arise. That takes wisdom. You can't just replace that. It's not possible.
Fans have called for and continue to advocate for better performances, and some have even demanded outright changes of ownership. But as we heard, succession is far easier said than done, and replacing 79 or 76 years of wisdom is a seriously tall order. But as these two titanic clubs navigate some of the most testing periods in their history, they must be careful to make the right choices in order to move their clubs forward, for the good of both the clubs and South African football at large.